Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the Greenwood Board of Trustees will be held at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025 at the E.L. McDonald Community Center located at 619 Main Street, Greenwood, Nebraska. That meeting is open and the public is encouraged to attend. Board of Trustees reserves the right to adjourn to exec session for state status 84-1410. Open Meeting Act is posted in the meeting room for the public review. Roll call, Stephanie.
Here.
Kevin.
Here.
Tanya.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Don. Consent agenda, minutes, approval, of time cards, payroll, detailed reports, financials, profit loss, balance sheets. Any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, the consent agenda minutes, approval of time cards, payroll detail report, financials, profit loss, and balance sheet.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call, Kevin.
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Don. Aye. Stephanie.
Aye.
Water report. Anyone about your blending station?
Yeah, so I guess since we took the high nitrate well offline, obviously we're running the one well. There's been some obviously turbidity problems. The white and milky in the water that shows up there is likely air. Yeah, it's being pumped through the well. To be very honest, there's nothing, as far as I know, there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, if the well pumps air, it introduces air to the system. There's just no way to deal with that until we figure that out. We started the well blending station. We got to exposing everything, and the state is requiring us to do a couple extra steps to cap certain the direction of the flow between the wells. And as we dug them up, we discovered that the way that they're hooked together is not what's on the map. It's not the way that it was engineered. So we're now essentially going to have to expose the entire thing so that the blending station can work properly. If it's not, if the control is not, the flow is not controlled the way it's engineered, the blending station won't work. So to be very honest, it's going to be a pretty lengthy process. So we essentially have to expose every single foot of that until we find the tie-in between the two. So, and there's a tie-in out in front of the shop that we have no idea where it's at. You know, it's somewhere in the length of the building in the front. So we'll have to slowly dig it up until we find it. So that's going to be a slow process.
When you say in front, are we talking in front, like Main Street to the shop?
So there's actually two. There's one in the rear of the shop that runs
Right.
between the flat and the shop the way it is now.
Yep.
And then there's another one, we believe, on Elm Street that runs, so there's basically one on the east side and one on the west side of the shop. And those have to be capped to force the water through the wells, through the blending station, and into the system itself. And I've asked the state if we could just valve those off so that we could just turn the valves on and off in the event that we, you know, had a problem or anything like that. The state says, no, you can't do that. They want them capped. So that's just something that the state is going to require. We can't do. So it's going, but it's going to be a slow process. And obviously, the kind of rain doesn't help. So.
Right.
Anything else? Sheriff's report, we had that last month. Maintenance report. Nothing.
The only, I guess, is the only. We're going to install or begin to install the clarifier repairs sewer plant on Monday, so they'll start Monday. Other than that, it's just, we're essentially just doing.
You got the sludge pump going now, well, we can go into the lagoon.
Correct, yeah, the sludge pump is not operational again. And then I'm hoping everything goes smoothly and that that'll take a week-ish to get that clarifier running. And then once that's going, it'll probably take 2 months to get that side operational so it's normal. It's a biological process. You can't just turn it on, turn it off. That's not how it works. But so once that gets going and it's biologically, I guess, stable, for lack of a better word, then we'll move to the other side. There's still some parts we got to order for that yet, that we haven't ordered for that yet. I don't think, as long as we get the other side running, I don't think it's an enormous hurry. Just needs to be done.
Well, we have to buy in bugs?
No, I'm holding, one of the digesters is I'm using it as a holding tank, basically a seed farm.
Yep.
So when that gets going, I will use that to seed the inside.
Okay.
And then the standby generator replacement source as well. but it's operational now.
Any questions for Al? Anybody? Clerk's report, our new clerk is supposed to start next Monday, so, yeah. Planning and zoning, they have minutes in there, so, fire and rescue. See no minutes. Park and rec,
Yes, I have some updates. Hello, I have not had a chance to meet all of you, but my name is Haley Rockwell. I am currently the treasurer and secretary for Parks and Recreation. You may have noticed that we have a lot of items on the agenda that are specific to Parks and Recreation. I will speak more to it, but we have discovered that a lot of the items that we've been submitting the minutes, we've been submitting supporting documents, and they have not been transferred to the agendas for the board. I'm not sure why they haven't been added. Janet has been very helpful in tracking down all this information so that we can get as much added today as we possibly could. Now, as has been brought to our attention, that there are some of the items on here that are under question if they were voted on upon an actual valid meeting, and that was something that we had concerns as well. As members of the Park and Recreation Board, our primary objective is to serve the community effectively, transparently, in accordance with municipal code. Recent events have raised concerns about the communication transparency and process adherence. We are struggling to proceed due to the inconsistent and ever-changing information that we've been provided, which has created confusion. We've had delayed decision-making and has undermined our confidence in the process. These issues have severely hindered our ability to process with the plans of Greenwood Fun Day and our board and our other board matters. And to be clear, our goal is to resolve this matter. We want some answers. We want to obtain an affirmative answer how to move forward, ensure that Park and Recreation operations proceed without any other necessary delays or obstacles. Some of our key concerns are lack of direct communication transparency, unauthorized auctions, delays and lack of adherence to processes. As I mentioned, a lot of our voting items we have found at the beginning of 2025. We've discovered that several of those items, and along with supporting documents being submitted to the clerk, have not been added to the Board of Trustees agendas. This issue has persisted despite our efforts to submit the documentation both online and secondary via email. We also had an issue with the request of our attorney time. A request was made for 1 hour of the attorney's time, originally submitted on April 30th board meeting, but it was not added as a voting matter as it should have been, and it required resubmission from us. It was only then approved on April 14th, which caused further delays. We have supplied these questions to the clerk to be forwarded to the attorney on May 22nd, which was last Thursday, and that action has been halted, as well as no further communication on action plan to complete this approved matter. We'd like some clarification on that. There's also been a mistrust in representation and an impact on the Greenwood Fun Day and community engagement. At the end of the Greenwood Fun Day last year in 2024, we did have concerns raised to us by the Board of Trustees representatives regarding event processes, and we did look into that matter. There were some concerns on how funds were received and transported throughout the day for the event. However, we determined after researching this matter that in Municipal Code Section 2-501, Operation and Funding, Item B stated that revenue from donations and fundraisers shall be known as the Recreation Fund and shall remain in the custody of the village treasurer. That said fund shall be used to pay for all fundraising activities and events held by the commission. With that said, the only Park and Recreation events that are held that day are not hosted by Park and Rec, they're done by private entities. We don't collect any funds as Park and Rec hosted events, so we were not having any issues with how we were processing and planning these events. Also, no additional clarification or attorney-confirmed information was provided about these claims at the time. We decided to move forward with what the municipal code states. So we did get some concerns at the end of the year. We did look into it, we did our due diligence, and we moved forward. On April 12th, 2025, there was unilateral action by Stephanie Grell. Stephanie contacted Park and Recreation Board member Shelby via personal Facebook Messenger, informing her that she could not serve on the board or host a vendor event for Greenwood Fun Day. This decision was made without prior consultation
Excuse me.
of Board of
That's not
Trustees
what I said.
approval. On April 14th, Shelby submitted her resignation for Park and Rec Board. This was submitted due to the stated conflict of interest made by Stephanie. When the Board of Trustees addressed this resignation, they were unaware of the said claims leading to Shelby's resignation. It was unclear as why she resigned, which was concerning to us because we felt that this would have been done through an approved matter, and it seemed not to be. On April 14th, we had our Park and Recreation meeting, and during that meeting, Stephanie presented concerns about Shelby's eligibility. When asked about for supporting documents, she admitted to having none, referencing only verbal confirmation and conservations and from the village attorney, done by the clerk and not Stephanie directly. So we were concerned that there was no proof given or any additional guidance as to why we were told that Shelby cannot be on the board. And as we were addressing the issues that were being brought to face, every time we were addressed with additional questions, and which was further complicating the discussion. It was requested at this meeting that all communication regarding this matter was transparent, and questions and answers were given for all communication to the attorney to us, that we were able to see both sides. Grell agreed to provide this requested information, but we have not seen that. At this time, it was also said at our meeting that we were going to be requesting the attorney's time so we could get to the answers of this, and not just what some interpretations are of the municipal codes. We wanted direct communication from the attorney so that we can move forward. On April 14th, Tanya Johnson also requested her documentation. We have been transparent with her that we were asking for her clarification on things as well, being our Park and Rec representative. She confirmed that she did not receive any of this information from Stephanie as well. She was not able to offer us any other information. And we were looking for additional guidance, but Tanya was not able to get that because she was not able to get the information she requested from Stephanie as well. On April 15th, the public records were requested by Shelby. We wanted to clarify past actions from the board and municipal code interpretations. Shelby's had submitted this public record request. Nebraska law requires fulfillment within 4 days, unless otherwise noted in communication and writing, and that was not done. Late in April, we discovered the missing agenda item, a request for the 1 hour screen time submitted for the April 30th Board of Trustees meeting was not added to the agenda as a voting item and delayed the resolution of the key issues. On May 5th, we had our regular Park and Recreation meeting. At this meeting, Tanya had confirmed that we were missing a lot of documents, supporting documents, voting items for the entire year. This is when we discovered we needed to go back and look through every single meeting and look at the board meeting and make sure that all of these items were on there. It really raised concerns because now everything that we thought we got done, we were unaware if they were done or not. We have voted on the event items that have been submitted, and we had voted on the attorney time again so that it could not be missed. We had early in May discovered that Stephanie had only shared a filtered, summarized version of the attorney's responses to a Park and Recreation member's personal email. This version excluded the original questions and full responses, hindering the board's ability to use this information effectively. Hence why we had to furthermore write questions and look over all the information again to submit via the board, which was approved. Now, Tanya Johnson, another board representative, had confirmed that she has still not received any of this update or clarification information from Stephanie to further guidance on the matter, so we were still left in the dark. On May 14th, the attorney time request had been approved. The resubmitted request for the attorney time was finally approved after having to vote for the matter again through Parks and Recreation. Questions had already been sent and to the attorney without Park and Recreation's notification, undermining our ability to go upon the approved process. On May 19th, there was a delay in the public records request response over a month after the initial request. Stephanie provided a personal summary of the requested documents instead of the official records. This response violated Nebraska law LB 363. No copies of the actual public records were given. So again, we have requested information and could not receive and go any further. On May 21st, special meeting for the attorney questions and remaining event submissions. Park and Recreation had a special meeting to finalize improved questions for the attorney to have full transparency with the board that these items were approved by Parks and Recreation to deter any further delay. The questions were raised by Park and Recreation stemmed from the review of the paraphrased answers provided by Stephanie from the attorney, as well as the state of municipal codes, which lacked the specific information we needed. Thus, we went ahead and forward with the questions that we had put together. We read what we could and gathered what we could from the information that we had received from the email that was a summary of the attorney's questions and answers, but without seeing what was asked and the I would say the examples that were given, we could say did not align with what we actually have because none of them are relevant to what we currently have for events for the day. We voted to send this to the clerk with the representative CC as well as Park and Recreation, and we voted on that matter so that we could remove any further delay of communication. Now, following the submission of those questions to the clerk, which was asked by us by the board, we forwarded those on the next day following our May 21st meeting. Stephanie has now delayed the submission of these questions, citing concerns about redundancy. Despite questions already being submitted without Park and Recreational approval or knowledge of questions being asked, an email reply has been sent to all of the board of trustees asking why this process has been halted, and our the attorney's time via email was already previously approved by the board of trustees, and it was approved by Parks and Recreation to compile the questions. The report with questions and context was voted on by Parks and Recreation and cannot be changed. We're not sure why this has not been sent already and as already approved notion by the board. On May 27th, yesterday, Stephanie now claims that the Park and Recreation meeting wasn't valid. That was hosted on May 21st. Despite meeting quorum requirements as per Municipal Code Article 5, Parks and Recreation Commission Section 2-503, Stephanie has claimed that the May 21st meeting was invalid because not all the members were present. We have asked the Board of Trustees to determine as a whole whether this was a valid meeting or not. And this is the only communication regarding a Park and Rec concern that we've ever received from Stephanie was yesterday. Our only ongoing concerns impact of the Greenwood Fun Day event. Vendors and event organizers are increasingly frustrated with delays caused by Stephanie's unilateral decisions and inconsistent interpretations of the municipal code. We've been trying to be respectful, we've waited for answers, we asked for them, we've asked other representatives for further answers, and we've gotten nothing. We are really struggling to move forward. Community members have begun choosing other events due to lack of clarity and delays in planning, and we just haven't been able to give them answers because we've been waiting since April for this to be finalized. This is ultimately jeopardizing the success of a Greenwood Fun Day. We feel these actions are unfair to the community, and they deserve the same community togetherness they've been able to count on. We want to know where this is going, where we can get some answers, and what are the intentions behind delaying all of these. Furthermore, we want clear and direct communications. We want all concerns, interpretations, and actions to be communicated in writing with supporting documentation. We want board-wide consultation and transparency. We want no actions or decisions should occur without board approval according to the attorney's submissions and municipal code interpretations as needed. And we want adherence to municipal code and processes. We find that following the municipal code, unless clarified by the attorney, ensuring board-approved matters proceed without unauthorized delays. And formal review of representation. We want to conduct a formal review of representation actions to ensure alignment with the board directives and community interests. We have not received guidance and support on how to move forward, but only delays. Immediate focus on Greenwood Fun Day. We want to resume planning efforts with a clear timeline and transparent processes to ensure event success. We'd also like a direct answer to why we would have not had our questions sent off to the attorney, as this is a board directive to, and that was approved on, and we want to proceed with submitting them, and we want to know when that will be carried out. We remain committed to serving the community with integrity, but this unilateral actions and lack of transparency has to end. It is essential to address these concerns moving forward. We want to express our sincere gratitude to Janet. She has been invaluable assistance in tracking down information and ensuring that our records are as accurate as we can get them. Her dedication has been instrumental in helping us address the gaps in communication and documentation that we found with our minutes. A special thank you also to Tanya for her steadfast support throughout guidance and tireless efforts to answer any questions and seeking clarity. Her commitment to tracking down information and providing direction as she can has been vital to navigating the challenges that we face and keeping Park and Recs on board. This is a lot of information, but we felt that the board was not aware of all the things that were happening. We've been jumping through a lot of hoops. The goalpost has been changed many times. Reasons why things have been delayed have been changed very many times. We're receiving different information, contradicting information, and we just aren't getting the answers. We followed through with everything that has been asked of us and still can't even get answers sent to the attorney just to clarify how we can move forward. This is a lot of information specifically to timelines and information about what has been sent to us, what hasn't been sent to us. would love to answer any questions, comments, concerns. Unfortunately, I noticed backwards and inside out now that we've had to look at everything and analyze everything that we've received, so I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
I think at this time, we'd like to have a copy of that, and we'll get back to you with a statement, because there's a lot of information there that way if we gotta go get legal and say, hey, that, I can answer a couple of them things right off the top of my head, but some of that I'd have to.
Yes, I think our biggest concern is knowing why the questions have not been sent to the attorney and when we
Well,
can see those.
here's why I haven't sent it to the attorney yet, is because you got 6 pages, and 6 pages to an attorney is gonna be well over an hour. So, where do you wanna start? I mean, your first thing was for the ball field. That's gonna take over an hour by itself, to have her go through and see if people gotta have insurance, and, you know, if they do a tournament or whatever.
Mhm.
So, that's gonna be well over an hour. So,
Well-
is that where you wanna start?
Well, we actually, those questions we've been asking in the past and have been in our minutes. And those were some of the items that we found that haven't been being translated to the board.
And we talked about that earlier.
Yes, so those items we're just restating and re-asking because we've been asking for them and they haven't been done. We've asked our own questions about the liability. We've come to some conclusions. We need her to finish answering those questions. If it is more than an hour's time, I think that we're just gonna have to ask for more. At this point, we can't move forward with any of the Greenwood Fund Days until we get clarification on what we can and can't
Have
do.
you,
So I
have you
think that
seen the letter
those.
the attorneys actually sent back?
Yes, we did, we
So
read
did
it,
that
but
answer any
no, it
questions?
didn't, unfortunately, because the questions were asked if they were specifically for a park and recs event that was a fundraiser. We don't have any park and rec fundraiser events for that day, so all of those answers
Greenwood
can't
Monday
really.
is a park and rec.
No, it actually is not, it's a community event.
That's-
And there's been some question on if that event is a community event, and when it was brought back in 2010, it was brought back to be a community event, not a park and rec fundraiser, which it originally started out many, many years ago. We do things to raise funds throughout the day. When we had Stephanie in our meeting, we were answering her questions, and I think that it was clear that she was unaware of how we do some of those things, which those are minute details and processes, but we were frustrated that we had to explain these things to her, but she was questioning what we were doing and didn't even know our daily process and how we've been doing these things. So I think that we can't move forward because of her interpretation of the municipal code. We are being respectful and waiting for an answer from the attorney to be clear on what that municipal code reads, but we're respectfully waiting for that, but we don't need that information to keep going forward, but we need it to be able to communicate to our vendors. And unfortunately, a lot of them are having to drop out and go to other events because we can't give them a clear answer until we know for sure from the attorney. An hour of time was approved. I think that we send her what we have put together. In that document, I put in the information that was received from the attorney, but we can say, unfortunately, this doesn't answer our question because it doesn't apply to the events we currently have. And without being able to see what was asked, we're not able to apply those answers to our own questions. So we looked through and we tried to use exactly what we could. There's a lot of things that we highlighted in there that we asked to confirm. Does this mean this? Because the example that's given is irrelevant to what we do. So we tried the best we could to clarify with that information, but without seeing it in its actual entirety, it's just hard for us to be able to use that. Again, we're comfortable with reading the municipal code and moving forward with our interpretation and what we think that they say. But if there is some concern with it and we need to have that clarification, then I think we need to have the question sent to the attorney. If the board as a whole feels that those interpretations are not correct, then we can move forward with what we've been doing.
How about this? You take off the ball diamond part, redo your email, take that out, can you do that? And then what you said, that what she said didn't correspond with what you guys are thinking. That way she's got a,
That's what's on there.
That's what's on there.
That's what makes it so long, is that
Yes.
she has all of
Right,
the
but-
paraphrase.
but she's already wrote a letter saying,
Yes,
Same
but we
thing.
don't know if that's
But
really
tell
what
her
she
that
said,
in a-
because we
in an
haven't seen
email.
everything. So a lot of it is just re-quoted what she's.
so then I'm gonna tell her
stated.
she's got 1 hour, and after an hour she
Yes,
stops.
yes, and a lot of them are questions of to confirm X, Y, Z is what you were stating above, that's a yes or no. We're not asking for a long, lengthy answers, we're just simply want, yes or no, that's what this means.
Okay, I just said we're gonna send it to the attorney.
Yes, that'd be great, so if you.
Resend your email, take out the ball field stuff.
Yes, we can send that
And
separately.
then state saying you don't understand what she said before according to what, so.
Okay, I will send that and then.
Send that again and we'll send it off and I'll make sure she knows that she's got one out.
All right, perfect, thank you.
And then whatever she don't answer, then we can go on from
Okay.
there.
All right, are there any questions, about any of the information that we have found has been missing from the board meetings?
Well, you
Did you
can,
specifically state that you wanted that to the clerk? Like specific items that you wanted?
Yes, I mean, it's
You didn't-
a
you didn't
voted on
say-
item, yep, and we
Right, but
state that we in there that it
and
needs to
my
be
question
given to the board.
Did you actually say, can you please put the following items on the agenda? Because she's not necessarily gonna read your minutes and discern what you want on there. You need to specifically state.
So
what
she
you want
gets to
on there.
choose which voted items are on the board of trustees agendas?
You need to just tell that we would like this
Ask
in
her.
the minutes.
specifically say, hey, we want this on the agenda. She's not gonna read
She's not reading your minutes.
she's not reading your minutes, then
Okay, so do I need to support a different document that says this is what the meeting minutes say, this is what has to be on the agenda?
send her a separate email saying, I would like to have this on the agenda.
Okay, so our meeting minutes don't suffice as this is what has to be on the,
Then she's gotta sit there and read them.
The minutes come through, the minutes are a public record. If you want specific line items, all we're asking is specific line items you want added to the agenda. Just put it in as a line item.
You have done that.
Does that understand? Does that make
yes,
sense?
yes, I
What
mean,
we're
we've been
requesting?
including that information.
Okay.
I've been submitting it and then emailing it to make sure it's been received. I think that there's just been items that have been overlooked, which is fine, we understand that, but we've heard that there's been some misconceptions that we've just been doing what we please and not following procedure, and that's not been the case. We've been submitting things, we found that they just haven't been going to the board as they're supposed to. And it's not consistent. Most of the voting items will get on, and then there'll be one or two that are in the same section that don't make it. So I'm not sure what has been happening, I'm not sure how they've been missed. We've been sending them online and verifying via email. I've been meeting with Janet and sitting down with her to make sure that everything has been added, since she is temporary, and she didn't know that all of these things have been missed throughout the year. And she's been really grateful and really been working together because she's having a hard time understanding everything that has to be added. I'm trying to help her, go through the list, but, I mean, we are been putting them on the minutes and specifically saying that these are for items that have been voted on and need to be put on there. I can reinstate, I can provide further documentation, I don't think that's necessary. But I just wanna know that moving forward, and in the past, we've been providing everything, it just hasn't been coming to you for whatever reason.
I would just ask that, especially since we're having a new clerk, that you specifically state, please put this on the agenda, items, because the next
This is
person, we're
separate
coming in
email.
for an event, and then they're not gonna have anything.
If anything, just make a separate document that
That's what I
says
said.
request for agenda.
Okay, so
That's
we
what I
want
would do.
additional communication of what needs to be on the agenda. For the time being, as a temporary clerk, or is that forever, we need to have that?
I would just continue to do it.
Just,
Okay,
the more clarification you can give us for transparency, the better. You send us something, you say we didn't get it, well, if you say you sent it, you got more documentation too, so. I know it's a little more work on your end, but it's clarification for everybody.
Well, it's just one email.
I know, unfortunately, that hasn't been enough, so I will continue to give as much communication
And
and as much
then
information.
you said on April 28th, we didn't put nothing on the agenda. Well, the due date's the 25th of April at noon, so.
Yes, we've been submitting those things online and we've been sending them, they haven't been added.
But in your words from your letter there, it said the 28th. That's a Monday, and it's supposed to be out on Friday. So,
Yes, we've been submitting them and found that they weren't being received. So then I was coming, emailing them additionally and dropping them off in person because we were trying to prevent anything being missed. I don't have an April 28th date on here. We submitted everything prior for the April 30th meeting, if that is what, you're asking, but, and I understand that some things could be missed. However, we just want it to be known that we've been doing our part in submitting things. If things are being missed or things are interpreted as we're not doing what we're supposed to, It's not because of our end, the ball has been dropped in a different court. We're trying our best to provide as much documentation as possible to prevent this. We will continue doing that forward.
I guess I don't understand why it ain't a fundraiser, because like Jason, they have the 5K run. It goes to, yeah, Huntington's.
Yep, that's,
I mean,
yes.
the fire department, they do a fundraiser
Yes.
for the fire
Yep.
department.
Yep, it's
I
a
mean, the
community
church
day
doesn't pancake feed
for
for
everyone
the
to
church,
do all
so
those things.
how can you
Yep.
say the fun days ain't a,
It is not an
Fundraiser.
event that solely exists to raise funds for parks and recreation.
it used to be?
It used to be, it is no longer. It is a community
Since
day.
when?
Well, it was reinstated in 2010 as a community day. I'm not saying that other organizations can't come to fundraise, but it's been stated that the sole purpose of the day is only to raise funds for Parks and Rec, and that these other events cannot happen, and if they do, all the money has to go to Parks and Recreation. I don't know if all these organizations are going to want to fundraise and host events just to give the money to Parks and Rec when they have their own things and organizations they're raising funds for. So we're open to fundraising, we encourage it, we invite the community to come out and do those things. We want everybody to be involved. We're doing it as, we're hosting the day, you host the event. We want to be a good steward of the community and allow for them to do that. It is open for people to fundraise. We're saying that the sole purpose is not that the money comes to Park and Rec, but to have a community day. And I think that that's where there's been some miscommunication. We do things to raise funds. We charge the food trucks that we bring in to give us the funds. There's different things that we do to make money back. And we ask for donations from people if they make money from their own fundraising events to come back to us. We're trying to make communication better and to get communication out to our vendors better so that we can get that money back. Unfortunately, that's kind of been halted for the year, but we'll keep going as much as we can. But we really are trying to build up this event as a community event to gain more people in so that in the future we can have more success in raising funds specifically for Parks and Rec. However, right now we're a 3-person board because we had to have Shelby step down and we had an open position, and we've been asking the community for people to come in. We're doing what we can. We want to build this event so that it can raise more funds for Park and Rec, but that's not the sole purpose of it.
And to clarify, I never said that she had to step down, she chose to do that. I said that it was my understanding from what the clerk told me, that she could not profit off of it personally while on the Park and Rec. Not that she needed to step down from the Park and Rec.
Yes, and she did that respectfully until we could get an answer, but we've not
But
been
you
able to do
said
that.
something different in your little speech. So I just like to clarify that.
I have one question for you right now too. How many members are active right now?
All 3 members.
How many, okay. The reason I'm asking this is because according to the way we have stuff set up here in municipal code, you guys are supposed to have 5 members.
Yes, yep,
So you're short 2 members is what you're telling me, right?
yes, yep.
That's voting members,
We're down 2 members, yes.
okay. And that's why I'm questioning this particular thing here on this meeting, because with what's stated in the minutes and so forth that I'm reading, you did not have an actual quorum to conduct a meeting that night.
What constitutes a quorum?
A
Majority
majority
of members?
of the board. So you're supposed to have 5 members total, you need 3 for a quorum.
Right.
You can't just have 2 of the actual 3, you actually need to have 3 for a quorum. The way it's stated in the municipal code and state regulation, or state statutes.
And I emailed you last night and cited an attorney, email from September 2021 that specifically clarifies that.
We,
I have not, you did not include that in your email.
because the reason I'm bringing that up is
I
because
just sent it last night.
we've had issues the same way with planning and zoning, that we need to have a minimum of 3 members to make anything happen. That's why we had a lot of stuff stagnate for 2 or 3 months with planning and zoning before we could get another member. So that's what I'm concerned about that right now, is that I believe you're saying you have 2 voting members present. Well, if we don't have 3, we have an issue.
We just wanted to discuss at that point. And
Yeah.
Kevin, you went off the state statute, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because we ran into this before. It's in here. Our municipal code references the
state statute. I know it is, because we've had
Can I
this
ask
issue.
what state statute that is? Because the one that I found when I was trying to find information was 16-696, and it states that a majority of all of the active members on the Board of Park Commission shall constitute a quorum.
Okay, you might be correct, but I know the municipal code may not be, but have been updated too. We've had that issue before.
It's updated in 2021.
And that's fine. Like I said, I was trying to find information, and that's
Okay.
what I had found.
What
Yeah, we
remains
were
then
operating off
is
of that
as to
code.
a quorum, that is not as well defined as I'd like it to be, but in order to operate at all now, they have to have 4 members, if 7 is what they're supposed to have, that's what Park and Rec used to have. If they have modified that to 5, then they would need to have 3 to operate, and if there's 4, then 3 is a quorum of either 4 or 5.
Yes. We, originally it was 7 members, we knocked it down to 5 members because we couldn't get enough. So a quorum has to be 3 members.
It's of what your board should be, not what you actually, that's where I think you're getting confused.
And that clarification is helpful. We had not received that in the initial conversation.
I did email that to you last night, I'm sorry that you didn't get to see it prior to
What email did you send that
the
to?
parkandrec@gmail.com.
Okay, because we didn't see it, it's not in here, there's no, provided documentation. And I can show you that, which is fine if that's what's determined, but at the moment, when we were given this, it was not stated, there was nothing, there's no proof, and that contradicted what our municipal code says.
I think your interpretation of the code was just wrong because you weren't satisfying the beginning of the code to the end of the code.
For Parks and
The first
Recreation,
line.
or for just,
Right, for Parks and Rec at the beginning, it says you are to have 5 members. And at
yes,
the end, it
yes,
says
and
the
we
quorum, so
currently,
you
yeah,
have to
and we
put
currently do
together.
not have 5 members. We've been trying to fill those positions for quite some time. It's hard to find, people who are interested, especially when they've been attending meetings and seeing that we've just been dealing with roadblocks. It's hard to get people to want to.
The meeting that states that there's.
So are we determining that the May 21st meeting was not valid? If so, there are some items on there that we will not be able to discuss for voting. Will those be tabled for another time? Do you need to know what items those are out of the list? Cause it
Should
should
be 7 through 19.
No, it is not. It is item 14, item 15, item 16, and item 17. All of those other ones were existing, had been previously submitted, and and you should have documents provided that are supporting, for those events and some other things that we had submitted in the past.
I only saw items 7 through 19 on your May 21st.
On the May 21st meeting, that's not correct. Our agenda did not include numbers 7 through 13, only items 14, 15, and 16, 17 as well.
Did we have minutes from the April meeting? Maybe that's why she bolded them on here.
She copied and pasted them. I helped her put it together and show her all of the items. The reason they're bold is because she just took them straight from the agenda from the prior meeting, our May 5th meeting, and put those in there. And those we had together before the May 14th meeting. They were not included, which we understand things get missed. So that's why I met with Janet and we met together to make sure that they were all added for this meeting, and I included documentation to give further explanation on the events, the descriptions, if there were any questions regarding that. Let me know if you don't have that, I can pull up and answer any questions you have regarding the events.
When did you vote on 7 through 13?
7 through 13 would have been at the May 5th meeting. And I can give, if you would like to see the minutes from that meeting or see when they were submitted, I can give that to you as well.
We have a copy.
I got it here.
No, I know.
You-
No, I got it.
The picnic tables, the bounce houses, the awards for the tractor pulls, the super SAS field booking, that should come with the report as well, as well as the vice chair, voting for Danielle, that was all, prior to the May 5th meeting.
You do need to have your May 5th meeting minutes amended because it was actually a special meeting, because your, meetings are supposed to be held on the third Monday of every month. So just make sure that you're always noting that it's a special meeting, not a regular meeting.
So if we're listing as a regular meeting, but it's not held on the day, it has to be called a special meeting.
Right, so like when we have meetings other than the second and last, Wednesday of the month for our board, we have to list it as a special meeting.
Okay,
need to
so we can
follow-
revise, those May 5th meeting minutes.
Right, and just note on there, since we're having the clerk revise minutes so that it gets updated, and then,
I can provide an updated copy.
and then just make sure
Yeah.
too that since right now, excuse me, Ms. Miller, you only have the 3 members, that the chair has to call the meeting, or all 3 of you have to agree that you're having the meeting because it is a special meeting, and all 3 of you are present.
Yep, we've been doing that. All right. Are there any questions about the items on the agenda that I can provide?
We'll table them and we'll put them on the next meeting.
Okay, 14th through 17th.
14th through 17th.
Okay.
Oh, I do have a question about the ice cream social, so where, is that the church, is that right?
Yes,
And then who is hosting that?
that is, it's at the church, but it's hosted by the church.
Is hosted by the church?
Yes.
Is that the city light one?
Yes.
Yeah, just right up there.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure, like, who it was, because I know the Christian
Like, I
church is
think
doing
that's
the
us.
pancake.
Okay.
That sounded familiar to me. City Light Church.
We can just have a copy of that, or if you don't have time tonight to get it, you can just bring it in to Janet, make sure they have a copy of that, what you read to us.
For the May 5th.
No, that, right there. We got May 5th.
Oh, our report here?
Yeah.
Okay, yep, I can hand that to her.
And then horseshoes, who is, doing that?
Hmm?
The horseshoes, who's doing that?
Let me pull up our event description. Yes.
James?
West business.
Oh, James West.
What, do you know the name of his business?
DFG,
Yeah, DOG automotive repair.
And do you know, like, in what context he's doing that? Is he giving, like, is he doing a registration ahead of time? Is he doing cash?
So typically for those type of events, they don't do registration ahead of time. They collect the team information there. The goal is to kind of piggyback off of the horseshoes, and the washer tournaments, to kind of have those things piggyback off each other. A lot of people that want to attend one want to attend the other. So that is kind of the goal, was to piggyback off of each other for those events. And both of those typically are things that you don't really receive the registration until the day of.
So do you have a confirmation of someone doing the washer, or do you know if he's doing both of them?
Those are 2 separate submissions, and those are being done by 2 separate people.
I haven't seen the washer one. Have you already done
Yeah,
that?
it should be in the event description. It should be included on there.
From your meeting minutes, I just have approved as approved horseshoes. It doesn't say like who's doing it or anything like that.
So you would like to know who is doing the horseshoes?
Yeah, just because, the attorney has noted that we should always know who's doing things on our property.
Yeah, well, right now, we don't have the placement for those people. We take the event submissions, we approve whether they can happen, and then we take what the requests are for placement. We get multiple requests for the same place. We kind of have to place them based on who's approved by the board, who can have what event. So we can't say for sure where they would be located. That will be part of.
That they're usually in that little spot, and generally it's after, like, the kids stuff, because then you guys have more room.
Yes, yep, and we've been trying to be more diligent about where we place things and what time of the day, and trying to make earlier kid activities in the morning, the more adult things, and older kids in the evening, and then transitioning into bingo and all of those events that were held last year that are intended to be held again. But that is one of the things that we kind of want to make it more consistent with timing for that, so those events are structured together so that while people are here attending those events, they stay and attend further events. Any other questions about the events that have been submitted? Some of them we'll have to wait until the next meeting to give details, but if you have questions about them, I'd like to answer your questions.
Okay, so the bounce houses, what's the name of the company again?
The water slide guys. They are the local company that we're using this year.
And, are you still, or have you already submitted their specific event, insurance policy for review?
No, we haven't, it hasn't been approved by the board to have this event yet. We submitted the invoice with the items that was voted on in our April 14th meeting, but it was not added to the next agenda. There were some items that were added on there, but that one was skipped.
That may have been it. And last year, I know that when she told Matt Holston that she needed the invoice in order to consider that a contract with the village, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I submitted the invoice, so I get that it was just missed, yep.
So I know she had that discussion with him last year.
Yeah, I think that was just one of those items that just got missed. And I had emailed her again the invoice, and I provided a printed out copy to Janet just in case she didn't have it as well.
And then like, it doesn't say on there the company, so just make sure that when you guys turn stuff in, if she has that, or he, I guess, will have that on there, so that they can add that as part of our meeting minutes, because that way it's clear to the public, like we hired this specific company.
Okay, do you have that information? And that one isn't necessarily an event submission, that's one that we book through Park and Rec, so that one's a little bit different, so that one does have an invoice where the event submissions won't have an invoice, but yeah.
I don't think I had personally any more questions about what was submitted.
I would like to just clarify from your statement that, my email that went out on April 14th was not specifically to Stephanie. It was specifically to the clerk with Stephanie CC'd, since she's the other committee member that I requested that information. I did not get that information sent to me, it got sent to Stephanie, which I have now received. Stephanie forwarded that to me on the 26th.
Right, and I had no idea that she didn't receive that information.
So I now have that. My next question would be, Mr. Chairman, when we have an officially approved motion by the board, what is the process that a trustee can singly go and make a decision to delay or stop an approved motion?
Well, we said we would give them 1 hour, but looking over that, it was gonna be more than an hour.
And I
So-
asked the chairman about it.
I understand that, but I hate to set a precedent that when we make an official motion, that we can just go back and say,
So
I
what are you
agree
gonna
with
do when
this.
it takes 6 hours? Then how
Well,
do you?
but we approved 1 hour, so that's
Right.
what the attorney would be for, is you get 1 hour, so if it doesn't get completed in 1 hour.
So
it
we
doesn't
would
get
have never,
completed.
ever been able to even go to the main question is what they're asking. But it would have been all the ball field. So I wanted to specify from them
I
how they
understand,
want.
I understand, and I do understand that we probably made a mistake. What we should have done is ask them to submit to us first, so that we could see what.
That's why they did submit to us.
Yeah, our
Prior to the motion.
motion was to
Correct.
just submit them to Janet, and Janet would forward them along.
Right.
That was our motion.
Well, I had actually requested that at their meeting in April, but they said, no, they didn't wanna do it that way, and then we just came and said the motion the way that it was approved, and that's how we got from there.
Well, so my specific question though is how, why and how and what, where is it written? I just wanna follow correctly that a single board member can delay or stop a motion, an approved motion.
But I wasn't doing it.
We're not stopping it, we're just, I wanted to verify.
I understand that, but it was delayed, and so this is where I'm at. I think if we set a precedent with that,
Well, there wasn't a timeline, there was a motion to have 1 hour for the Park and Rec.
yes, they were to submit it to Janet, and
Right.
Janet would submit it. but when they was submitted it to Janet, it got stalled, which I understand there were questions. And I understand that we probably should have done better when we did the motion.
Sure.
But where is it? I don't wanna set that precedence, I guess. I'm not okay with setting a precedence that I can now later disagree
I
or
think
want to
it's
look at it
kind of
further and want to stop the process.
one-on-one situation.
But when
Does
there's,
that make sense?
yeah, I understand where you're going.
I do understand that we should have done better with our
Right.
motion. And I understand the questions. But I just hate to set that precedent, so I don't know, maybe there's something in there that says that I didn't see.
I don't know, but all I know is there was way more than 1 hour's worth of attorney time it would have cost us, so if we'd have sent that letter
And
at that
she's, and
time.
if she's not clear, doesn't see that she's only allotted 1 hour, then she's gonna charge us regardless, and then, like.
Because the letter she's already wrote is .80, so over 3/4 of an hour she already spent on the letter she's already sent for the park event. So,
That letter was not sent on behalf of.
no,
our
we know
resident.
that, we're not gonna
No,
hold
she's,
you to
she's,
that.
it's in regards to, and
I'm
I don't
just-
even know what was asked, because I was never forwarded
Right.
from Jasmine what
All we
was
did
said.
see
I
was
have
the
no idea.
aftermath of what
Yeah,
the
all I
attorney
see
sent
is the
to
letter
us.
that,
That being said, I'm just saying, that much right there was a little over 3/4 of an hour.
Which
So,
we would have loved to be consulted on that, because then we could have came up with our answers for together and just said one submission, but we didn't even know that any of that was happening.
well, you had a board member that had the answers, so.
No, but we were not consulted on the original questions.
Oh, I never
So,
even got on.
No, we had no idea that any
I
of
don't
that was
even know
happening.
what was asked.
So if there was a concern
yeah, I was
about
never
wasting
forwarded
funds,
that.
I wish that we would have just been included to begin with. Whenever this was asked however long ago, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But unfortunately, we weren't included in that, so I don't think that we should be at fault for having to.
We're not saying you are, I'm just
No.
telling
No,
you,
but
that's how much.
that- And there are 4 or 5 questions, and most of them are to clarify or to confirm. So we felt that would be doable in an hour. That's why we had concluded that information.
And to maybe wrap up this piece of it, to Tanya's point, and Stephanie's, maybe this is a littler moment, we did not know that there was the concerns that it was gonna be over an hour. The only communication that I saw, was that everything was tabled because we didn't meet quorum. We did not know that there were concerns about the time that was going to be spent. So I respectfully ask that if those concerns are happening, that we be informed.
All I can say is I'll try to do better next time. I'm sorry, but
We're all
It
in
wasn't
agreement.
intentional on my part.
I wasn't holding back
I like to have
intentionally.
clarification on
Just-
things before I just do them out.
I, from my perspective, just to chime in here, just for maybe 15 seconds, being a new Parks Rec board member, I can say that it seems like there's a lot of disjointed communication happening, a lot of differing opinions, and so to Haley's point, getting a consensus, so that we know how to operate moving forward, and so that we can do this together for the community, I think it's gonna be a great, we have some room for improvement all around. And perhaps if we and a board member can get together to learn proper procedures and how we can improve, we can also pass on feedback. I think that might be a benefit.
Any other questions on the park and rec? Tom? Kevin?
Not at this time.
Kevin? Mark? You guys got anything else before we move on?
Thank you.
All right, library, they were, last meeting, so communication, go ahead.
Sorry. She did contact me and said that, I already told Kevin this, the Wi-Fi is still not working, so he's gonna look into that. She said that they made $200 from their Runza fundraiser that they had a month or so ago. I know, I'm sorry, I got a whole thing. Their summer reading program begins Tuesday, June 3rd. Ages 0 to 6 will be Thursdays at 2 p.m., ages 7 to 12 Tuesdays at 3. Teens on Fridays that they're open, which will be the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th of the month at 3. And Saturdays, they'll be open the 2nd and 4th of the month at noon. The last day of summer reading will be Friday, August 1st. A specific calendar of events will be coming out in the next day or so. Kevin, I forgot to tell you about this. The library and village phone numbers are appearing, differently than what is
Caller
actually
ID.
the number, and then she's having problems with the voiceover, it sounds like. She thanks everyone who has donated, crafts and prizes to their summer reading program, and she thought that the response was truly amazing and so grateful because they really need the supplies and prizes.
Please send that to me. Right over down. Okay. Anything else on library? You guys got anything else?
Okay. Communications with citizens. Anyone?
I'll speak up.
Shelby?
Shelby Stewart. Obviously my name's been dropped quite a bit, so I would like to clarify a few things. First of all, I did step down from being chairman of Parks and Rec voluntarily. It was stated to me that hosting an event during Greenwood Fun Day and being on the board was a conflict of interest. So to solve that problem, I decided I can still provide the event that the community loved last year as a citizen member and just help with whatever they need, not being on the board. I didn't want to cause an issue for anybody. However, as you guys go through and discern whether or not this is a community event or a fundraiser for Parks and Rec, whatever it may be, it has been alluded that my company is trying to profit off of Greenwood Fun Day. That is absolutely not the case. I have been asked by countless village citizens why I hold such an incredible event in Ashland and don't do that here. They've asked for that to happen here. I was then asked by the Parks and Rec board and a trustee to do that last year. At that point in time, they had 2 members on Parks and Rec. Maybe there was 3, Kristen might have been there too. But they were hurting for help. So I figured, you know what, I can help more. I have plenty of experience in running events. I'll step onto the board and help with what I can. It is the smallest of any event that my company holds. I do it for the community because that's what was asked of me, not because it profits. It doesn't, you guys. By the time I pay for marketing that's appropriate, for all of the people that I have to have help me that day and the day before prepping, all the countless hours and operational expense of putting it on my website and all these other things, I do not profit on this event. I am doing it because the community asked for it. So there's been countless other events in town. The bar has hosted a beer garden. There have been times where they partnered with Round the Bend and they donated to certain, I think it was
Disabled Marines.
The disabled Marines. That's great. I also stated last year that I will donate to Parks and Rec a portion of whatever proceeds are left. I have to pay for some of my time and my operational expenses to be able to at least cut even. But I will donate to Parks and Rec if I am able to hold that event. I did not last year because I finally formed my LLC this year and was advised by my CPA to do my donation this year and continue that rolling on.
You just
So-
communicate that with the board though, and so we accepted it last year.
But I was never asked either.
Was that everybody's understanding that she was to give back to the Park and Rec last year? I thought that's why we approved it. And she was to hold the vendor fair and donate back to the Park and Rec.
My only thing that I keep recollecting is that we waived the fees for the vendors and that money was
That was
supposed
when
to.
Jasmine held it.
Okay, that's when Jasmine held it. Okay.
That was years ago. Do we require the beer garden to donate back? Because I know for a fact the prior owners of Uptown didn't do that when they held the beer garden. So are we going to require every small business in town? If you guys would look at the data, and I will provide it to you because I've already asked Ashland Economic Development for this data. If you guys would look at Greenwood Fun Day the same way that Ashland does, where they use it as an event to drive people into the community. When you get people into your community for an event,
They go and they spend money at your restaurants, at your businesses, at your candy store, and guess what? All that money that gets spent, those tax dollars come back to the village. We have a sewer plant that is not functioning as it should. We need as much tax dollars as we can get. We should be linking arms with any local organizations, any local businesses to pull as much traffic to this village as possible on an event day so that our village thrives.
But last year it was held as a fundraising event.
It was not.
Yes, it was.
No, it was not. We were on, all three of us, well, you weren't on it at that time, but Haley and I were both on it. There was not a single fundraiser for Parks and Rec on that day.
No, it was not, no.
No, it was
No,
not.
it was not.
No, it was
The
not.
Day for the End is a community event. It is not, only purpose is to raise funds for park and recreation.
Does Parks and Rec do our due diligence, and if we're going to spend village money, we try and get as many sponsorships to cover that event as possible. But it has not been a fundraiser solely for, at least last year it wasn't. I can't speak to before that, because I was not on
As
the
to the
board.
beer garden, Maureen answered that and what was disseminated to, we can't control what they do on their own property.
Okay, but they've hosted in the park as well.
That wasn't the bar here. That was around the bend, and that was a.
No, it has been the bar here before as well.
Not since I've been on the village board or when I was on Park and Rec.
Well, it has, it's gone all the way back to 2010, 2012, they've been in the
She
park.
also states in there that if the village board approves it, then we can.
That's my piece. I just want you all to know that I have no ill intentions and I'm trying to benefit the town.
Anyone else?
Name's Justin Cadwell. I know it was kind of briefly talked about. I was just curious about the air in the water, if that'll have any lasting effects on home piping. We're getting the spurts all the time. I just want a little clarification. If and you said that it's kind of
It's cavitating, it's sucking air, so it just puts
Right.
air bubbles into the system.
there's just a lot of people been asking about it.
Understandable.
I was just curious if there
We all
was
see it, so.
right. I just didn't
You let
know.
it set for 10 seconds and it goes away. I mean,
Right. I was just curious if there was going to be long effects to it with our systems, because like we have Culligan, and I don't know how that spurting does any effect. I don't really know. I'm just curious in general.
the only reason why it's doing that is because we turned it up because we got one well, so we gotta have more capacity.
Right.
So before we turned it down, so then we got rid of the air bubbles.
Right.
So that's the reason why there's more air bubbles at this time.
If I might.
Yep.
So, the operator will actually, he'll do testing every month like he normally does. So to ensure that the water is safe, it's still being tested the exact same way. The turbidity or the air in it is honestly a nuisance. It's not gonna affect the quality, it's not gonna affect your appliances, it's not gonna affect any of those things. The only effect it may have is that you may end up with trapped air inside the system, which is, it's a nuisance.
Yeah. I was just curious.
No, but the testing that ensures that the water is safe every month that you drink is still being conducted every month.
Yeah. No.
That
That
part hasn't
wasn't that wasn't the question. I just wanted to know if it would have any effect.
It should
on
not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. Old business. Discussion possible action sewer plan, I think, we
Thank you.
she just kept it on there just in case we needed some more stuff, so. The next one should have been on or new business, so we'll go to, public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at 8:03. Greenlight Realty rezoning request for parcel 130028681, Greenwood Village Lot 77 and half vacate adjacent alleys. So, I have anybody for the Greenlight rezoning?
If I might.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, is everybody familiar with the piece of property? Is everybody not familiar with the piece of property? Okay. So, we submitted our rezoning application to the planning board. They held their own hearing, they took their advisement for a month, got some more information, and then they approved it at the last meeting. Essentially, we're taking a piece of property that has little to no tax benefit, and quite frankly, should not be a residential building lot. and we wanna put a commercial building on top of it. And essentially, it's a shop for our business, okay? So, we think it's appropriate place for it, just because of the reutilizing the empty lot that's on the tax rolls, it's gonna clean the lot up, it'll provide some barrier between the train noise and the adjacent residential property. The rezoning, type, the industrial, I think it's industrial one or industrial one. Industrial one, I didn't ask for that, I said to the city, I want to put a shop on it, I want to put dumpsters outside, empty dumpsters outside, and what do I need? And I-1, is that what it is, I-1? I-1 was the appropriate.
Because it's adjacent to one.
Correct, so it was adjacent to the, already I-1, and it also fits the purpose of what we're gonna do. So, we're prepared to move forward sometime in the fall with the building should it get approved, so. I'll entertain any questions.
Anyone else for? At this time, I'll take anybody against. Nobody? We can close the hearing at 8:05. Now we'll go back to what should have been on new business. Approve or disapprove Greenlight Realty rezoning request for parcel 130028681, Greenwood Village Lot 77 and 1/2 vacate adjacent alley.
Make a motion to approve the rezoning request for Greenlight Realty parcel number 130028681. Followed by lot 2, okay? Greenwood Village Lot 77 and 1/2 the vacated adjacent alley.
For a second,
I'll second that.
roll call, Tanya.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Don, aye. Stephanie.
Abstain.
Kevin.
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll go to new business number 1. Approve or disapprove claims list A. I'll make a motion to approve claims list A. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Don, aye. Stephanie.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Number 2, approve or disapprove Greenwood Day picnic tables.
Just out of curiosity, how come you guys didn't get the ones from the Waverly Community Foundation?
Did you know about it?
And Matt Holston used to take care of that.
Okay. Waverly Community Foundation has them for rent for $50 too.
Oh.
FYI, then you don't have to go to Palmyra to get them.
That company delivers
Oh,
and picks up.
wow.
And we were
And this
planning-
includes the delivering pickup?
Yep, and we were planning on if there was another event organizer that wanted to use them to split the cost with them.
So there's a beer garden or something if they want that.
If there's anyone else that needs to utilize the picnic tables, we were getting them for additional seating for food trucks and different items.
How many tables is that? I didn't catch that.
There are 2, they're like 2
Okay.
trailer versions.
Okay.
Then you know, one of you will be there to meet them, to kind of direct them where to go.
Yep, we'll be there the entire day.
Oh, on the, but on the.
I'll make a motion to approve the picnic tables through the picnic table gala for Greenwood Fun Days not to exceed $100.
You seconded it, Stephanie?
Yep.
Roll call, Don, aye. Stephanie.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Number 3, approve or disapprove Greenwood Fun Day bounce houses.
So you did decide to do a wet slide, that was kind of a.
No, it actually, it's a wet or dry slide, we'll be utilizing it as a dry slide. We've had issues with it being wet slide in the past, so
I
it'll be
thought that one
essentially
said dry,
saying.
one said wet, so I was like, okay, is there, are they both dry?
No, it can be used as both, but we're specifically asked for it to be dry, and it just comes with the bumper at the end, instead of the pool where the water is.
If you look at that notice, that comes with
Mine
it.
is old.
There's part of it, it's straight up in there. I'll make a motion to approve the bounce houses for Greenwood Fun Day not to exceed $1,170.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Stephanie.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Aye. Approve or disapprove Park and Rec, Rec week of tractor pull, so Thought I'd seen,
I thought he said that he was going to actually donate and cover the expense.
Black Hill's gonna cover it, all they need is a W-9 from the village.
And then
And
we
a tax
have,
collector form, I think.
Yeah, that's different.
Huh?
W-9 is different from a tax exempt.
oh, yeah.
We need
They needed something, I
We need
shoot from the hip there, sorry.
they also said that they needed a invoice that stated that had been paid to offer the funds back to you as a donation.
A paid invoice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically we pay it, then they reimburse it?
Yeah,
Okay.
he does this
Correct.
every year.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the, Rich Steen recognition bill for $270 and to also send the necessary information to, I believe it's Black Hills Energy, I can't find that page now, for, what was that? I didn't think it was.
I think it was in their meeting,
Well, okay,
the Black Hills was in.
yeah. Anyway, not to exceed $300.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Kevin?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Tanya?
Aye.
Approve or disapprove Park and Rec, Sarah Sass,
Super sass.
Super Sass, or field booking. Is that for the field?
Do you wanna wait to see what Maureen clarifies on all this stuff?
Hold on.
This is specifically just for the software of what we want to use for booking.
I'm gonna ask one question.
Mhm.
Anybody bounce this off the IT guy? Because we've approved a whole bunch of software that is nowhere near compatible, and then all of a sudden our free to whatever low-cost software costs us $500 on the backside to make, because the IT guy has to make it work.
So,
Nobody knows who
this
the
is a
IT guy
SaaS.
is. Problem.
And so it should work.
That doesn't mean squat to me.
It's all cloud-based, it's all cloud-based.
That's great.
So basically,
You can
I want
there,
a blessing from the
there.
IT guy that says this is gonna work.
just to answer that question, we set it up, and then all you have to do is provide a link to people, so we don't have to build anything on our website. It's built on the SuperSauce platform, and then you just add a link that people click on it and it takes them there. So nothing is built or added on our website, just a link.
So widget.
I'm just sick and tired of
Like, not even,
everything
it's
we've
just,
done computer-based around here has come back and been a 6-month to 2-year ordeal. It drives me nuts.
no, we specifically, when we researched these, and I have a report that, I had submitted, if you guys don't have it in your.
I did see that.
If you
yes.
haven't seen it, I can
Yeah.
provide it again, but it talks about, why we chose to go with that, because it reduced any of those issues, compared to other ones that, Daniel had researched, we found that that was the issue that.
Do you know if any of the other local communities are using this?
It is
Their
very,
word.
yes, it's very comparable, the other things that we kind of looked into, I had called in and discussed other places like Nebraska City that were using like Sign Up Genius, and found that there were a lot of issues that they were running into with that. So that was another reason I stated that in the report of why we felt that wasn't a great recommendation. It seems that SuperSauce is very comparable in size of what other organizations are using. And also we liked it because it allows us to add the ability to rent the park pavilion. We've talked about wanting to do that if someone wants to rent it for a birthday party or a family reunion, that we have some way of doing that. So it is not just for field booking, but also for anything in the park that we would like people to be able to rent out.
So we're trying to be forward thinking there.
Yes.
And also a lot of local, other communities have teams that they are sponsoring, or like Waverly has their league. And so they're using different platforms that are meant for that, that also have the booking feature. And we looked into those, the cost is astronomical, so yes.
Absolutely.
So there's 30 cents per transaction,
2.9% plus 30 cents.
2.9%. So what, how,
That's your credit card.
Yep.
how many?
Oh, that's for a credit card?
That's,
That's
processing fee.
So it'll be single, like,
that's
So
a
that's
single
how-
fee,
that's how
that's
they
not
book it
a,
as a
that's not a
credit
per
card.
booking fee.
Oh,
well, I mean, technically it is per booking.
It is per
Right.
booking.
So how many bookings are we planning on?
Well,
in a
if
year.
one team
Well, right now,
comes
you're not
in,
making any money on any bookings, so.
I'm well aware of that.
Right.
so-
So are.
But we
if a
have to know
team-
how much we're
So
gonna
is the
spend on
village
this.
eating that cost, or is that somehow assigned
so you
to
can,
the person?
you can make it so that the person, it adds that 3% to make up for that cost.
theirs.
To when they make that booking. The hope is that the team goes in and selects all the days they want and just makes one big booking for the time being. They might have to add a couple of extra if they, need, but the hope is that a team that's planning on using it makes one big booking for all of the dates and has one transaction fee that they cover.
Even if there's
So-
150 events booked, it's only 45 bucks.
So it's still, I'd rather get the
Right.
person.
So if you booked 4 events at $30 an event,
Well, we
your
have-
fee is gonna be $5, not even $5.
I mean, that's not,
For
but
those four.
that's kind of what we sell to people too, like, it's only gonna cost you,
Yeah.
to use your credit card rather than having to
I'll
physically
tell
go to
you,
the office and pay her.
In business, I am seeing every single business, anybody that has these transaction fees are now passing it on to.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
I mean, the village does it when we pay our bills online.
Yes.
Yeah.
We currently, my business currently doesn't.
And, Mark, to your question about these, I don't know that we have that data, but I can say, I think that the ball field has been used every day this week so far. So,
Is, I'm like a technology idiot, is there someone that would have to like manage the app?
So you don't manage the app, you set it up, you have a whole configuration process, you set it up, and then you basically decide like it's bookable between these hours every day. You can decide like how long each booking can be, and then they go on, what's nice is they go on, they see what the availability is without encumbering the village clerk's time, and they can't book until they've paid.
So what about like the app itself, like, is there like an owner of the app, like, so like if you guys, like, say managed it, then, and you were to move on from the park and rec, just so that we can like recover that, if that makes sense. I wasn't sure if like that was
Administrative.
something.
I mean,
don't know anything
I think
about.
that our plan was for it to be managed by the clerk because that's where all the information would have to go. And this allows you to collect all of the team's information and the field agreement and all of those things in that single booking. So ultimately, the clerk will receive everything in one shot. The way it's built is you kind of determine at the beginning of the year, we're gonna say it's available these days, here's our outliers that we're gonna close it off for whatever events. And it's just, you push it all forward, it's all available at one set time, you don't have to like go in every month and set what days, what times available, so it's kind of set for the year, and then they are able to book that way.
Is there a
I think
fee
that they
schedule for the ball
also,
field?
like, permissions.
Yeah,
groups.
that's kind of what.
Yeah, there are permission groups, I think.
Thinking about, yeah.
So
We-
then you have one for the village clerk and
Yes,
one for
yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
To answer your question about that fee schedule, we had talked about that for baseball field rental, but we have never followed through with it. I think it was, we asked for a monetary donation because we didn't have anything set up. for that.
Well, and then that takes you out of, the minute we start charging a fee with Parks and Rec for use of parks, it takes you out of Fair Recreation Act. So that's why Parks and Rec did their due diligence to see what our coverage is, and everybody, Marine, Brad Carlson, they all agreed that we are covered adequately, and that shouldn't cause an issue.
So I think this is a great,
I think it's a great idea,
Software,
but I think we
but-
ought to get fee schedules before we
yeah, I
even
think we
think
need to
about
get a few things in place before we actually
it. Just,
start this.
I mean,
Just since we have to charge a monthly fee.
Right.
Make sure the legalities are in place,
We
your
don't
fee
know
schedule,
how long it will take Maureen to respond.
all of that.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, that way you get 25 phone calls in the office and somebody types it in wrong, hey,
How many
We're
events
supposed to have-
are scheduled
They'll
now?
execute the agreement in that booking process.
Which is what we wanted the attorney to clarify and give us so we could put it in there.
No,
And
I
all of that
understand.
is all together.
So we can table this and circle back to it once we have a fee schedule and.
Yep.
Fee
Attorney
schedule
stamp
and
and
the
approve.
agreement
Okay.
before we can.
A motion to table the,
Scheduling
just the
Superset.
Superset scheduling software until we can get, IT approval, attorney approval, and set a fee schedule.
I'll second that.
roll call.
who is IT? Just,
Chad Yost, I'll get you
Chad
the
Yost.
information.
There you go.
thank you.
But he does have, like, limited, only have limited hours, is that only for the library?
No,
That's just the library?
it's 10 hours a month.
Oh, so, yeah. Maybe
Okay,
try and-
roll call, Tanya,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Donna, Stephanie,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Clarification, Mark, you motion to a second?
Stephanie. Let's see, here. Approve or disapprove Park and Rec Vice Chair Danielle Keel?
Cleo.
Clue?
Khalil.
Clue?
One more time.
Make a motion to approve Danielle Khalil as vice chair of Park and Rec.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Mark,
Aye.
Donna, Stephanie,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Approve or disapprove library fundraiser?
Any idea what the library fundraiser is?
So this specific fundraiser is for them to sell, items outside during the car show. Things such as refreshments, water, soda, chips. And they have requested that they are placed near the car show, and not necessarily in the park where they won't be the only option for those items there.
Have you guys submitted anything about the car show? I don't know that I. Is that
That is
something that was
likely
left off
going-
the agenda?
That's something that we've been asking community members to post. Ultimately, if we're not able to find someone to do it, it will be a park and rec event. So we haven't made any submissions for the events because we've been asking, and there's some people that are interested, but we're just not hearing
I
back.
just want to make sure it wasn't something that was left off.
Nope, that's one that we have. We're hoping that someone comes forth and is very excited about hosting the car show.
And then, so you guys will have one regardless, you'll host it?
Yes, yep.
It's in the car show book already.
Yes,
so-
yeah, we made a point to make it in the
I
car
just want to make sure,
show
so like,
book.
are we going to make it?
Committed.
And
Oh,
we
we
committed.
We're gonna have somebody that doesn't know cars.
It wasn't in the book last year.
Well, there are trophies back there that
Right.
the way former Park and Rec person purchased, that we might be able to reuse, and I don't think there's a year.
There will be a car show.
Okay.
But who we don't know.
I'll make a motion to approve the library fundraiser.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Stephanie,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Donna. Approve or disapprove pancake feed? I would assume that's for the Christian church.
Did they give you any timing?
Um,
And that's at the fire.
for the pancake feed, so, they have early morning slots, so our time frames are early morning, 10 to 1, 1 to 4, and then evening. So early morning is along with, anything prior to 10 a.m.
Okay, so are they doing it at the fire department again?
That is what I believe has been.
Jan DeGardo, I think usually, or Jan?
Yes, fire hall.
Because I think usually, don't they start at 6?
It's
They
early.
do like, they
6
do
or
it
7.
like, like 6 to 10 or 10:30, something like that.
I'll make a motion to approve pancake feed. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We'll call Stephanie,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Donna. Approve or disapprove fun day vendors and craft show?
Do you want us to table this until we get some more, info? So that she, because I think, I know in her response, she gave like, if this, then this, and if that, then that.
That's up to you guys. If you feel like you have enough to action on it, go for it. If not, let me say, if we wait much longer, I don't know how many vendors we'll have. Manly has an event that day, Newtown has an event that day, and Memphis has an event that day.
The only thing is, like, she says in her correspondence that like, we could charge you like an administrative fee, we would have to determine like what that is, and that kind of stuff.
If you decide to
So, could we put it on, like, our meeting in 2 weeks, or if we have a special meeting, we hear back? Or we can at least review, because some people, like, still need to review what they turn in.
totally your call.
I mean, they did state that they can have vendors that are for profit, right? They just had to have, you had to present your own, is it the business insurance?
That was all based on where
Which I
it
get in.
was.
Where it's located?
Yes, so in the past it was on the street, it said as long as it was approved by the board on the location, then it was, time. And I get event insurance that I can provide to you guys and add you as an additional insured.
So you would agree to have your own insurance?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
sure,
that.
sure.
Yeah, I get
Okay,
that.
no, I mean, like, you would be falling under rather than our insurance, because she says that we have to clarify that, so I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, that's
That's
what I,
what I'll do.
yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Whichever way it has to go, you've got it, so it ain't gonna matter.
Right, yeah, I knew you had it, I just wanna make sure that we're clarifying that.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do I have insurance?
I'll make a motion to approve the Greenwood Fun Day vendor and craft show. What's the name of the business, Shelby?
Well, we'll see then.
Sponsored by Limitless Events. They will have their own insurance.
I will second that.
We'll call Kevin.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Aye. Stephen?
Aye.
Approve and disapprove Greenwood Historical Society bake sale / Sloppy Joe lunch.
I imagine they're doing it right by the depot, as usual.
You have their location, is Depot Museum?
I'll make a motion to approve the Greenwood Historical Society bake sale sloppy joe lunch for Greenwood Fun Days.
For a second,
I'll second that.
we'll call Tanya.
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Donna? Mark?
Aye.
Approve or disapprove Alzheimer's Association fundraiser.
Do we know what they're doing?
Yes, so they are wanting to sell breakfast burritos and other food items, at a time frame that we necessarily won't have a ton of food trucks. We, Park and Rec, have approved their event, on the condition that they offer some kind of younger kid event as a fundraiser. They were open to different ideas on different things that they could do, so we kinda asked them, to do like a ring pop toss, like the big bottles of pops, things like that have been done in the past. We don't have people that do that anymore. So we have communicated that to them, that we'd like for them to do a event along with that would be conducive for young children. Their time frame for that is 10 to 11.
I like that because then it doesn't coincide with the pancake piece, so that's a good thing to do.
I'll make a motion to approve the Alzheimer's Association fundraiser for Greenwood Fun Days.
Is there a second? Stephanie seconded. Okay. We'll call Donna. Stephanie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Tanya?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Approve or disapprove McKenna's run.
Mark Sabota has agreed to be the lead runner this year.
If I'm running, you better just keep up.
Something went wrong.
Yeah, something's about to happen.
Is it your same, course that you always do?
Yeah.
Same
And
one.
you're doing
To approve.
just the run, or is there a walk also?
There's one.
Slash one.
Either or.
Either one, yeah.
And you have your sign up for your t-shirts and everything?
Yes, it is on the website and it is open, yeah. I'll get some advertisements out soon.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve McKenna's run.
I'll second that.
We'll call Kevin.
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Donna? Mark?
Aye.
Tanya?
Aye.
Approve or disapprove horseshoes.
Horseshoes Inn is sponsored by Village, or DOG Auto, we don't have a sponsor for that yet.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
the
OG.
I'll make a motion to approve the horseshoes sponsored by DOG Auto.
I will second that.
Roll call Stephanie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Tanya?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Donna? 14 through 17 we have to do.
We got the table.
We're gonna table those.
I make a motion to table items 14 through 17 as presented on the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that. Roll call Tanya?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Don? Aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Approve or 18, approve or disapprove ice cream social event.
I'll make a motion to approve the ice cream social event from the Church of City Light, right?
Your second?
I'll second that.
Roll call Mark?
Aye.
Don? Aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Tanya?
What time is it?
No, Grant submitted it. Did you guys get a
It
time?
has 1 through 4,
Yep.
1 to 4, which coincides with the car show time as well.
Thank you.
Approve or disapprove bike parade.
Make a motion to approve the bike parade.
I'll second that.
Roll call Stephanie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Tanya?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Don? Approve or disapprove building permit for detached garage at 523 Pond.
I don't think
Tina
that's,
didn't get that.
doesn't really.
We don't really vote on these,
That's
it's
it.
supposed to go to
Or,
Kevin.
yeah, sorry, Mark. And then stuff.
That's what's on your administrator.
Disregard number 20. Approve or disapprove library manual biblionics.
Yep, there's no subscription.
I think it was like $800.
Yeah.
What does this do?
That is the online, online version of book checkout, the magazine checkout stuff they use annually, and also keeps track of the check in and checkout of books and stuff. This is an ongoing since Karen was here, but it's just an annual thing that they pay to keep going online, and it allows them to interact with other,
Oh, is it that E-rate or?
the e stuff, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the library's annual biblionic subscription not to exceed $800.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, roll call, Kevin.
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Don. Stephanie.
Aye.
Approve or disapprove library's purchase supplies, reimbursement of $29.41.
Make a motion to approve the reimbursement for library supplies purchase not to exceed $29.41.
Do we need to note that it's back to the land?
To Lanny Heaton.
I'll second.
Roll call, Don. Aye. Stephanie.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Tanya.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Don. Board comments or questions, Stephanie? Kevin.
Yeah, I got one quick thing here. I was actually contacted by DNSF Railroad today, this afternoon. They are going to have crossing closures, this week. Tomorrow is going to be 4th Street all day long, down by the co-op, and Friday is going to be Main Street all day. Whether doing track repair or the crossing repair, so.
4th Street and Main Street.
Sounds like something we need to put on the social medias. Lots of them, all of them.
Well, apparently, he said he's been trying to get ahold of somebody for a week, and he finally got my number by looking at the website. And I don't know what's going on here, but I figured somebody from the sheriff's office or somebody for fire closure or something would know about this, but for street closures, I would hope.
We put your number up there. It's not-
I'll let the co-op know.
I
Also-
actually gave him the contact information for Frontier to let them know too.
Okay,
He said he was gonna call in, this is like 3:30 this afternoon, I got the phone call, so.
Okay, yeah, I can also, just to remind him, tonight I can text him and let him know that we're gonna have stuff going on.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Kevin, do you have the ability to put it on the village's actual website as like some kind of like alert banner or something?
I can look, yeah. I'll have to look on that one too.
Do you guys still have access to the village's Facebook page?
But
I know a lot of people go there a lot.
There's some turmoil with the Facebook stuff, I'm gonna tell you that right
We
now.
can share it there.
Yeah. That's all I got, so.
Tanya.
Maybe officially Greenwood Facebook.
I don't have anything. Everybody just keep up the good work and do